Team, welcome back to the Process Programming Strategy and Tips video. We're here to talk about 22.3. My name is Ed Haynes. With me in the studio is Ant Haynes.
What's going on?
Okay, before we get started, once again, thank you very much to the sponsors who are making the show possible and supporting us throughout the 2021-2022 season. Our sponsors, LifeAid Asia and Athletic Apparel Proper Pastures, supported by Lyra Spirits, Wine and Things, MG Garrity Insurance, Ultra Hemp, Biltong Chief, Bandit Coffee, Clean Nutrition, Bear Bells, and Nocco Hong Kong. Guys, we appreciate you. Thank you for allowing us and helping us to put this together. Now, Ant, you have just done this workout alongside two of our other coaches, Lottie and Andrew. First thoughts are, how did it feel?
I thought it would actually be, a bit more of a stinger. Having said that, definitely could have gone faster to make that effect come into play a bit more. In terms of the actual workout itself, of course, there's a lot of chance of bottlenecking here for people. For the elites, it's a bit of a sprint. For the people who are not quite elite, and there's a limiter either in the barbell weight or the gymnastic skill piece, or even the double unders for some people, then it's going to be a completely different workout, which requires a lot more strategy. But like I said, for the elite, it's kind of like a couple breaks here and there. Otherwise, just go.
Okay, yeah, so let's dig into some general thoughts. And you covered a lot of the things we had written down. Firstly, no max lift this year.
Yeah.
Obviously every year when it comes to programming for the CrossFit Open, what we're doing is we're taking historical data from the competition and using it to inform what the next year might look like. Now, this is obviously the second year we've had the CrossFit season look like this, where there's been a 3-week Open into the quarterfinals. One year there was a max lift. The next year there wasn't a max lift. So, as to what's going to happen next year, who knows? The next thing to think about, exactly as you said, in terms of bottlenecking, what we have in this workout is we have increasing load. So the barbell and thruster is getting heavier as the workout goes on, but we've also got increasing complexity. So whether you're doing a scaled or the RX division, essentially on all fronts, except for the repetitions, this workout is getting harder as you get more tired. So what that means is that the opportunities for bottlenecking are really going to be in the back end of this workout. So starting at an appropriate pace, and we'll hopefully shed some light on what we think that is really important to allow you to be able to move as fast as possible relative to your ability and where you want to get to when the workout starts to get harder. In terms of the gymnastics movements for the scaled and the masters, we're going jumping pull-ups to chest to bars, and then the RX divisions, pull-ups, chest to bars, bar muscle-ups. Make sure you read the relevant loads for your division and your scaling option. What I would say as well is, although we see a descending rep scheme, a lot of people immediately think Fran or a 21-15-9, which is a rep scheme that I'm sure a lot of us in the CrossFit world have done at some point in time. A lot of us immediately think about that. Now, there is a difference though. The rep scheme is going 21, 18, 15, and that is deceiving because there's only a 3-rep drop-off. So not only is the complexity in gymnastics movements increasing and the loads increasing, the change in repetitions is pretty minuscule. So you need to be really smart about how you attack this and pace this. There is also a tie break for this workout. We're going to talk about why that tie break is important relative to where you might be finishing this workout, but it's something you need to think about if the leaderboard and having a good or strong final placing in this workout is something that's important to you. What we're going to do now, we are going to roll the video. We are going to be watching Ant, Lottie, and Andrew take on this workout on a head-to-head. You're going to have here two different ability levels. You're going to have Ant, who is someone who's pushing for semi-finals in CrossFit Games, so would fall under the elite category of the sport. We have Andrew and Lottie, who have both been doing strength and conditioning and CrossFit for a good number of years now. They have the ability to execute all the movements. In terms of the load, they can lift the loads at the heaviest barbell. Their biggest bottleneck was most likely going to be the bar muscle-ups. So you'll actually see they actually attack the bar muscle-ups in singles, but they still actually make it through the bar muscle-up. So make sure you're watching the athletes relative to your ability level. Some of you may be not at the ability level of Andrew and Lottie. Some of you may be between here as well.
I think it's good. I think it's also probably worthwhile saying that both Andrew and Lottie actually went in with a very good strategy. Like you said, the thruster was really a non-event compared to the gymnastics limiter. So both of them based their pacing model to allow them to be as fresh as possible for that bar muscle up. And I guess they'll be able to see that in the video once we start rolling it. All right, so we'll get the video rolling in 3, 2, 1.
Okay, let's break down the 3 individual movements that we have in this workout. First, we have the bar gymnastics. So we're basically clumping together all the things that you need to do on a pull-up bar. We've got double unders and we've got thrusters. So just some things to think about to start off with. With regards to bar gymnastics, remember the standards, remember the rules. You can have tape on the bar, you can wear grips, but you cannot do both. Next thing is just a scaled jumping variations. If you are doing a jumping variation of a pull-up, make sure you are trying to use your legs as much as possible here. Don't use the arms. Essentially, use the legs to thrust yourself and create as much momentum. Get your chin over the bar, the chest to the bar. And then on the eccentric, make sure you're not slowing yourself down. We essentially want to kind of free fall and then cushion the landing with the legs. That won't be damaging to the shoulders because you're not coming to a full bottomed out position. But just try to think, use the legs as much as possible, use the arms as little as possible. For those who are doing pull-ups, chest to bars, and bar muscle-ups, it's certainly the way that we generally teach it is that the pull-up and the chest to bar more or less going to have a very similar setup. We're going to jump from more or less under the bar, pull ourselves back into a hollow position. The bar muscle-up, just make sure we are jumping more into the bar to create, somewhat of a glide kip. So make sure in your warm-up, you're practicing those 2 different setups and executions of those movements. And anything else to add on bar gymnastics in terms of just the movements?
No, not at all.
Let's talk about double unders. The double unders, because of the low rep schemes here, it really won't be much of a separator for those who are proficient in double unders. A trip here or there may contribute a few seconds, but there's not enough repetitions for it to make a real significance on the leaderboard. For those who aren't proficient in double unders, given that this is quite a leg heavy workout, especially if the thrusters are challenging for you, doing something like a single double or single double is still a very achievable or still a very realistic technique or strategy to use in the double unders to allow you to still get a good score. Conversely to that, some people who are maybe a little bit less proficient with double unders have a tendency to jump really, really high and just kind of whip that rope twice underneath them. Whilst technically you may be getting through your repetitions faster, it's at the cost of a much higher breathing rate and much higher metabolic rate. The key here is to try to make those double unders rest as much as possible to save yourself for the 2 challenging movements on the barbell and the bar gymnastics. So maybe something like a single double. You got any thoughts on that, Ant?
Yeah, I think I agree. Either a single double if you're proficient at even practicing that skill. Or just even breaking up into small sets of anywhere between 5 to 10 reps, quick break, go again. Because if you're really tensed up and you're holding your breath and you're slamming that rope down hard and jumping 2 feet in the air, like you said, it's going to tax you a lot for both the gymnastics and the thruster as well. So breaking it up actually could be a really smart way to do it.
Nice. Last thing on the double unders is make sure you're laying your rope back down nicely after each round. You'll see Ant here actually takes a deliberate second or 2 to actually place that rope down. That way he ensures that when he gets back to rope for the next round, he's not having to waste time untangling that rope or finding his rope and get straight into it.
You'll see that Andrew has a knot in his rope on the last round of double unders.
There you go, team.
Amateur.
Okay, last one. Let's talk about thrusters. Obviously, a question for yourselves is, do you squat clean that first repetition? If you squat clean that first rep, you'll be able to move straight into your first thruster, and that could, over the amount of breaks you take, actually save you a lot of time. Of course, you need to be comfortable with a squat clean. If you're not comfortable with a squat clean, do what feels most comfortable, what's most brainless for you, and that might be power cleaning, setting your feet, and then getting into your first thruster. Remember that you may receive assistance in changing your weights, but assistance cannot be provided in any other way unless it's a safety issue. So they've been really harping on about the importance of not receiving assistance on touching or moving barbells, but you may actually have someone change your weights here. If that is too much admin, if you don't have the manpower or the woman power to change those weights for you, I would advise just setting up your 3 bars ahead of time and just kind of making sure someone's rolling them in and out.
Yeah, agreed.
Last one, as the weight gets heavier on the thruster, really focus on leg drive. If you're a really strong athlete, then you may not have to worry about this because you may be strong enough to kind of just use a little bit of legs and the arms can take over the rest of it. But given especially the arms are going to be getting a little bit more taxed as the workout progresses, as that bar gets heavier, as you get more fatigued, really focus on driving with the legs out of the squat to use as much leg into the overhead as possible. Anything else on thrusters then?
Yeah, I think just because your upper back's going to be a bit taxed as well from doing the gymnastics and the double unders, if you can try and open up your squat position a bit more so you're not having to use so much upper back to support the bar in the bottom of the squat, will definitely make a big difference. If those elbows are starting to drop and we're starting to round a little bit at the bottom of the thruster, it doesn't matter how heavy it is. When you're breathing heavy and you're trying to hold on to a 43 or 61 kg bar, it's going to start to bury you. So the better your position is, the better you're going to be come the end of that workout.
Nice, good advice. The last little thing, guys, is make sure that bar always stays behind that line. So in terms of dropping the barbell, be conscious of how you're dropping the bar. Make sure you're not throwing that bar. Make sure you're not just kind of releasing it and stepping away, because if it does start to bounce around and goes over line, you're just going to waste time having to pull that bar back. Time wasted where you're not actually getting repetitions. Okay, we're now going to talk about pacing and strategy here. So what we've done, we've created 3 different avatars. Avatar 1 is someone who is unable to complete the second or the third gymnastics movement. Now, there may be some people who might actually be bottlenecked by the weight of the barbell as well. So what we really mean here, unable to move through the second or the third part of this workout. If you think about this workout being in 3 parts. The second avatar we'll talk about is someone who can complete all the movements with a decent level of efficiency. So obviously there's going to be a fairly large spread here, but if you look at Andrew and Lottie in the far parts of your screen, they are 2 people who would sit into this category. They can complete all the movements. There may be some people who can complete all the movements to a higher degree of efficiency. Maybe some people who can complete the movement to a lesser degree of efficiency, but that will be our second avatar. And the last avatar will essentially be the Ant Haynes of the world, the elite athletes getting after this who are chasing semifinals or CrossFit Games qualification. Let's talk about Avatar 1. This is for someone who is unable to complete the second portion or the third portion of this workout for some reason. So the first thing to think about is think about the tie break here. The tie break is going to be taken, a time is going to be taken after you complete each round of a thruster. So if you know, for example, and you're doing the RX workout, that you cannot do a bar muscle up, you've never done one and you're a long way away from doing it, then it's within your interest to push a little bit faster and really go for that good tie break time after that second thruster load. The same can be said for the relevant equivalents in the scale division. Now, in terms of going as fast as possible, that doesn't just mean you're going all out and trying to go unbroken. It still means you need to have a smart strategy. All we're saying is that as you're getting towards that thruster or finishing those thrusters, put the foot down, push a little bit faster, and try and finish that workout as fast as possible. If that leaves you with loads of time, then, sit, rest, recover as much as you can, and try your best to try get a rep or so of whatever that next movement is, because 1 rep is going to be a massive separator on the leaderboard. Anything to add on that, Ant?
No. That's good.
Okay, cool. So then we talk about second avatar. So this is for someone who might be able to complete the second gymnastics movement or the third gymnastics movement. So this means, for example, if I use the bar muscle up example, you may have done a bar muscle up in training before in a nice, fresh, isolated state. So that means whether you're going to be able to do it at this workout after all the other work, maybe it's a 50-50. But remember, it's much better to get 1 repetition in a workout than it is to get a faster tie break time and not get a repetition. That 1 repetition will be a massive separator on the leaderboard, regardless of where you're at. A lot of people will get bottlenecked and clumped in to the same group, and they'll just be racing for faster tie break times. So if this is you, then I would say don't worry too much about the tie break time. It's important to consider it, but we really want to think about preserving our energy so that we can be in the best position possible to actually get a repetition of the movement that we may not hit. So if that means completing a workout up to that point 2 minutes slower, but feeling a lot fresher and maybe getting a rep, that's actually going to be a more optimal position to be in versus rushing through it, trying to give yourself as much time to then hit it, because your just levels of fatigue are going to be a lot higher.
Yeah.
Anything to add on that?
No, I think, again, Andrew and Lottie both going into this workout were probably a little bit more, I guess, aggressive with their strategies than they needed to be. Again, just think it's a 12-minute workout, which is actually a lot of time. So when they got to the bar muscles, they had loads of time still. So people were thinking, I need to rush. You don't. Lottie, I think we broke her pull-ups into 3s, where she was originally going to go like a 6-6, 5-5 or something like that. And then Andrew as well broke them down even more, do more sets, have less time under tension, and we want to be feeling as good and as fresh as possible when you get to the hardest movement for you. Yeah, and I think they executed it pretty well.
And what you're seeing here is that both Lottie and Andrew are going to move through all 15 bar muscle-ups in singles, and they pretty much maintain this cadence. I think Andrew had 2 reps where no reps, he couldn't get over the bar, but managed to kind of save it again. So again, just to give you some perspective, singles and bar muscle-ups, as long as you're moving at a decent pace, is still a very decent strategy to allow you to do quite well in this workout. Obviously, if you were watching before, hopefully you would have seen how much Lottie and Andrew actually broke up the movements before this to allow them to actually execute when it really mattered.
Yeah.
Okay, so the second avatar now, like we're talking about, someone who can complete all these movements with a decent level of efficiency. if you're making the assumption that you'll finish this workout, or we're going to make the assumption you're going to finish the workout, or at least get to the third section of the workout, I wouldn't be overly concerned with the tie break time here either. What will be. The focus for you guys is just to get as many reps as possible, especially in the third part of this workout. The most important thing is we have to identify our limiters. This applies for everyone, but if double unders is your limiter, so I know for Andrew, for example, double unders is probably not the biggest limiter in his workout, but it's something that limits him more so than a thruster. Then think about preserving your heart rate here. It's low volume, so you can still do decently well, even with a broken up strategy, like you said, Ant, of doing single doubles. With regards to gymnastics, if you have one of these gymnastics movements, which is a limiter, as Ant has been reminding us every single week, make sure you break up the other movements around the gymnastics so that you can execute your hardest movement in the freshest state possible. So in this workout, that means if gymnastics is your limiter and you may be looking at a thruster being like, this is easy, this is a chance for me to make up time here, you need to break your thrusters, smooth through the double unders, maybe even break those, so that when you get to the hardest part of the workout, or as the gymnastic complexity increases, you are as fresh as possible.
I think that's actually if you use the two guys who went on the live announcement, they were actually a really good example of
what not
doing
to do.
basically what you're talking about. Yeah, so they were basically on pace with Khan, Porter, and Tola Marquinhos
in the first round,
in the first 2 rounds. And then suddenly got to the bar muscle-ups, fell apart, and then suddenly got to the 61 kg, 135 pound thruster, and they were failing thrusters. And then they just got, blown past at that point. So, hot at the start and then basically just fell off completely at the end of it. So that's a really good example of what not to do if you're the avatar number 2.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, with the thrusters, same concept as the gymnastics, just going to flip reverse this. If the thrusters are your limiter, if the load is just heavy for you, then you need to make sure that you're breaking up your gymnastics more so than you need to, or no more so than you'd like, to make sure you're keeping that heart rate down as much as possible, which is going to allow you to move through the thrusters as efficiently as possible.
Yeah.
Okay, lastly, let's talk about the elite. So we're talking about here semi-finals of CrossFit Games, potential qualifiers. One thing I will say is that the ladies' barbell, relative to the normal 70% rule, is actually a little bit lighter. What we did see is that I think both females, Annie and Lauren, went unbroken in the thrusters. But I know the chaps actually broke their thrusters at least once.
Yeah, Annie broke the second barbell, but then went unbroken on the last one.
Right, so that's just something to think about. So maybe best, ladies, if you have people at your level, it's best to maybe compare yourselves against other females rather than maybe potentially looking at the men. It's not a massive difference, but it is a slight difference. The key here for you guys is to not lose time resting on the third portion of this workout. Like Ant said, the 2 guys who went from CrossFit, I think they were, is it Hendersonville? 2 capable athletes who could execute all the movements with a pretty high degree of efficiency, just got massively bottlenecked at that last bar. Yeah. And, there's no extra points rewarded for finishing the first or second portion faster. If you start to lose time in that third, it's about your overall time in the workout. Yeah. Even looking at Khan and Tola, Khan led the whole workout, but it wasn't to that final thruster weight where Tola actually made the change and actually ended up beating him.
Yeah, Tola also broke the second bar where Khan Porter didn't. So just, a 3 to 5 second break there. Also, Tola had much cleaner bar muscle-ups.
He did, yeah.
But yeah, that was actually really good to watch those 2 go at it. It's solid.
Something else that Tola did, just giving you guys another example of elite, and this is actually what Ant did as well, is obviously this is down to your degree of efficiency on the bar muscle-up, but, by skipping out a big portion of the dip on the bar muscle-up, it's definitely going to save your triceps pressing overhead. So if you do have the ability to do more of an uprise, of course, you must still pass through some portion of a dip, that's the standards, then that might potentially save your arms for the heaviest barbell, the final part of this workout. Yeah. Okay, and I would just lastly say that for those elite, based on the movements, your ability levels, unbroken is definitely a very realistic strategy in this workout. Yeah. Okay, so just the finishing times here. You saw that Andrew got 195 reps, Lottie 201 reps. Basically, both of them got right up to a point of essentially just about to start that final barbell thruster, and Ant finished in 619. In terms of warm-ups, guys, just a few things to think about in your warm-ups. Make sure you're including some work to prep your ankles, your calves, and your tibia. Make sure, of course, you're prepping your squat position, and make sure we are prepping our overhead position. We're going to give you guys a more detailed rundown in terms of how to attack your warm-ups. Then what I would do is work through thrusters, the gymnastics pieces, and double unders. You can do this in an EMOM format. You can do this in kind of like a rest 60 seconds between movements, but use this as a chance to build up to your thruster RX load based on your division and where you want to get to. Rest a little bit, move into the gymnastics piece, make sure you're breaking down and executing that with a high degree of technique and efficiency. Rest a little bit and then dial in your double unders. And then really we want to put that all together in some form of broken down variation of workout with smaller reps. So we're starting to get used to what it's actually going to feel like combining these 3 movements together.
Yeah.
And anything to add?
No. One thing I did skip out this time, and I wish I didn't, was a bit more of an aerobic warm up. Just get my heart moving a little bit more. Just get the feel of breathing heavier, and I actually didn't. I focused too much on the thruster and gymnastics work, and I actually just completely forgot about it. But good for next time. Make sure we do that again.
Get that aerobic system warmed up, guys. We don't want to go from 0 to 100 when the workout starts. Make sure you're breathing, creating something similar to what the workout might feel before you actually hit it. It'll be much less of a shock when it actually happens in the workout. Good luck to everyone taking on 22.3, the Protest Program community, and those around the world. We'll see you here next week for the 22.3 update show.